Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Thank you for joining Getting Lucky with Robert Curtis, brought to you by WhatCulture.com and powered by a global network of fans on MMAshare.com. Today we are joined by a tough alumni from the Ultimate Fighter live season, Cruz vs. Faber. He was on Team Cruz. He's 7-0 with 7 knockouts, making his official promotional debut on the tough Carwin vs. Nelson finale, which is now, of course, Nelson vs. Mitrione. Welcome to the show, Vinc from Pichel.
So, thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know we just got you right after training, so let me first ask, how's training camp going, and are you injury-free?
Actually, you got me after work. I work on the weekends. I got my old job back at AAA, so I do that on the weekends. But training's good, no injuries. Just training my ass off and getting ready for my fight.
I do want to talk to you about the Rustam Khalidov fight, which is coming up on December 14th, but I'd like to actually start a bit earlier and go into your background. You were born in Simi Valley, California.
Well, I was actually born in Lancaster, but I mainly grew up in Simi Valley. That's when I was like my teenage years to about a year and a half ago.
Then Wikipedia needs to be fixed. I've heard you talk a lot about your mom in your interviews. Can you go a little bit more into your parents and how it influenced you?
Well, do you have anything specific that you want to know, or just the general?
Yeah, how'd you grow up?
I grew up in Canoga Park for most of my childhood. I think I was there until I was 12. 94, that earthquake hit 94. I lived in Canoga Park up until then. We were pretty poor. It was just my mom. I didn't really talk too much to my dad. I didn't know my dad, so it was just my mom, and I got 2 older sisters, a younger brother, and a younger sister, and we lived in this little apartment on DeSoto and Parthenia. It was a pretty bad area. A lot of gangs over there. Like, honestly, I think I was on the news maybe 3 or 4 times for interviews or people getting shot and killed over there in that apartment complex I lived in. And, one was like an old lady that I knew that used to give me cookies when I was younger. And I think the ice cream lady got killed there too, and, just a couple other people. So it was pretty rough, and I wasn't allowed to really go outside much unless it was right in front of my window where my mom could see me. And, of course, I'd sneak off and hang out with my friends, and I'd get chewed out or get my ass kicked by my mom, and basically stuck inside the rest of the day. So that was basically my childhood, just kind of confined in our apartment that we had. Just my mom didn't want me growing up like a gangbanger and kind of turned into a real piece of crap.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's unfortunate that you had to grow up like that. So with that environment, did you get into a lot of fights?
Yeah. My first fight I got into, how old was I? I think I was like 7, 8. I think I was in like first or second grade. I remember I was on one of my friend's bikes, and I see my brother kind of getting picked on by some big fat kid, and I pedaled over on the bike, and I kind of like jumped off the bike like a damn superhero and tackled the kid and just wailed on his ass, just beat the crap out of him. And I remember his parents like coming to our apartment, banging on our door, yelling at my mom, saying that I hit him with a stick or I had a baseball bat or something because the kid was so messed up. And that was my first fight. And then, I don't know, I guess from there I I always kind of had a short temper where if someone said something or did something that offended me or like my family, someone I love, it's fighting words, man. It was on.
Growing up with all these fights, when did you first start to get some proper training?
I actually started training, I think, a little over 5 years ago. In June of this year of 2012 was my 5th year of training. Basically anything in MMA in general. I never wrestled in high school or did anything like that. Honestly, when I was in high school, I was a punk kid. I got in even more fights. I was doing drugs, and I didn't even graduate high school until a couple of years ago. I went back and got my diploma. But I started training. I was a punk kid. I was getting into fights, and I was a short-tempered kid. So if someone said something that to me was fighting words, I just start swinging. There's nothing to talk about at that point to me. It's time to fight. And then I knew this guy, Mark the Bear Smith. He was a fighter. He was a big dude, and the girl I was dating at the time, her dad was best friends with this guy Mark, and Mark Smith actually used to train all the Metal Militia guys. He's trained Deegan and I think Twitch and a couple other guys for like their competitions and stuff. But he basically, him and her dad were like big dudes, so they used to pick on me during the holidays, you know, call me punk, and they'd both like sit on me and shit. And you know, I think I was like $150 then. I couldn't even. There's no way I could hold them off. They were like almost 300 pounds. So I told him one day, I was like, I'm gonna kick your ass, fat boy. Just wait. And Mark Smith basically laughed and was like, well, why don't you go to this gym? We'll see how tough you are. And it was some gym out in Simi, some just little hole in the wall gym, and I went there, and man, the rest is like history, you know. Like I started there, and I think a couple months, not even a couple months, I think like a month and a half after I started actually training, I heard Big John McCarthy's was having fight teams tryouts in Valencia, California, which was like a 20-minute drive from Simi Valley where I lived. So I went over there, I tried out. You know, I didn't have any kind of skills. I wasn't that good at jiu-jitsu. I mean, I knew the basics, but you know, nothing really. And you know, just a tough, scrappy kid. And you know, my coach Brian Peterson put me in the Navy pile and decided to, you know, spend some time on me and give me a chance. And he did. And shit, man, look where I am. It's crazy.
Just 5 years. That is crazy. You said you dropped out of high school and you started training 5 years ago. So from the period of whenever you dropped out from 16, 17 to 25, what were you doing?
Was doing a lot of bad stuff. You know, mainly drugs and getting arrested a lot for fighting. You know, I was just basically in and out of jail. A lot of stuff that I did I can't really talk about because I don't want to kind of, you know, I can't really say much about it, but it was just bad shit, you know, kind of the kind of shit you see on like Goodfellas movies and stuff like that. I didn't kill anyone, but you know, up to that, you know, I did basically anything I could for money or drugs, you know, and that was my life for a while.
So what was the catalyst that changed you from basically gangbanging to becoming a pro fighter?
Honestly, I don't really know. I kind of like just one day, well, 'cause I think what happened was one day I was really messed up off drugs and I came home and, you know, I kind of like raged out at home, kicked some holes in the walls. My mom was freaked out, called the cops, and, you know, I don't really remember any of it, but I just remember I wake up in jail and, you know, some cop like asked me questions and like I remember she asked me how I got in the house and I was like, what house? He's like, the house you're at. And I was like, well, where'd you find me? You know, like I had no idea what happened. And then I kind of just like, after I went through that, they let me go and I kind of just had a moment of clarity where it's like, shit, man, I need to, you know, stop doing this kind of crap. I'm going to end up dead or in jail for the rest of my life. And it's not what I wanted. So I calmed down a little bit, but I still got in fights. And then, you know, I don't know. I guess I just kind of had a moment of clarity where I just kind of saw things differently and realized that I can't be living my life like that. You know, I need to slow down and change things. And that's what I did. And fighting helped me a lot with that, actually. Changed me a lot.
How many amateur fights did you have?
I had 11. I went 10-1. It kind of pisses me off because the one loss that I had is the only one that's on my amateur record because in California there was no camo. It was all illegal fighting at the time. But then that one fight I fought that I lost, I went to Iowa and I fought this dude, Junior Ramirez or Hernandez, something like that. One of Pat Militich's guys. And I ended up losing that fight, which I want revenge on that bastard. Too bad he's a 45er now, but whatever. Water under the bridge.
Yeah, that's funny that you still remember that guy all the way back from your amateur days.
Oh, I want revenge, man. If that dude ever wants to take a fight with me, I'll take that in a heartbeat. I was whooping his ass.
But you're in the UFC. He's probably still in some regional promotion, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm not even sure if he still fights or whatnot. You know, I stopped kind of looking track once I turned pro. I just said, screw it. If I run into him, I run into him because I know he trots. Because when I fought him, I was still amateur, and I think he had already like 5 or 7 pro fights. And then I was like, fuck it, I'll take the fight. You know, he's just a man. He's human.
How'd you feel when you first got into the ring on your first amateur fight? I've heard from other fighters that it's a lot different from getting into a street fight because street fights just happen, whereas the pro fights or the amateur fights, you have all this time to sort of get nervous and overthink about it and things.
Yeah, it was kind of weird for me. Like I kind of had like a slow motion moment, like because all right, when I fought at this place in Van Nuys. I think it was called House of Champions. And I got there at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, weighed in, and there was like 30-something fights, and I think I was like 29. And I didn't fight until like 11 o'clock at night, so I was basically sleeping the whole day. And then, when I got in the ring, I was kind of like, shit, man, this is crazy. Like, am I really in the ring, like doing this, like, at first I was kind of sketched out, honestly, because I'm like, I'm used to like kicking someone's ass and then being out, you know, like you gotta get the hell out of Dodge real quick before you get arrested. So I was kind of like, hell yeah, I could stick around, kick this dude's ass, hang out for a little bit, like this is cool.
Now that being a fighter and making your amateur and professional debut and getting to prepare for the fight and actually getting to focus on what you're doing, what's your mindset going into the fight? Some fighters really have to make their opponent into an enemy. They have to sort of loathe them, like Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz seem to do. Others, like GSP, seem to take it with more of a professional level attitude. What do you do mentally to get ready?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't really think too much about the guy or what I'm gonna do or whatnot. Like, honestly, all my fights, I've never had a game plan. You know, I go in there. It's a fight. It's a fight. I'm gonna go there and whatever happens. I'm gonna go that route because I kind of feel like if I made a game plan and then my game plan fails, then I'm like, oh shit, what am I gonna do now? You know, I need to regroup right then and there. Which supposed to where I'm just like, fuck it, it's a fight. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna fight, and whatever happens. Like. To me, that feels better for me because it's, you know, you don't really know what's going to happen anyway, and you could say, oh, this guy's good at this or this guy's good at that. Obviously, keep that in the back of your head, but I try not to make too many game plans around stuff like that, and I don't try to change the way I fight just to compensate for someone's strengths. You know, I fight with my strengths and let him deal with it, and you know, like, what's up? Try to stop me.
Well, it's worked. You made your pro debut August 15th in 2009 against Frankie Childs. You were 28 at the time that you made that pro debut, but you took Frankie out, I guess, in 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and since then you've rattled off 7 straight wins, all by KO or TKO. So obviously you're a striker, and you're a pretty good one. I
guess you could say I'm good at being violent. Violence comes naturally to me, and yeah, all my fights, you know, I don't know, I never really think I'm gonna go in there and just knock the dude out or do this or do that. I fight and I basically fight to make them quit, you know, and I don't care if I don't finish the guy. I'm fighting the whole time. I'm walking forward, you know. But yeah, I think I actually retired that first guy I fought. I beat him up pretty badly.
Yeah, I'd say so. How much you get paid for that first fight?
I think I paid $40.
A little bit different nowadays, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, the other reason why I actually got paid like $800 or something like that. I think I got paid $800 or $900, but what happened was I had to pay for my medicals, so I had someone front me the money to pay my medicals, which was like $700 something. So I basically paid them, and then I made the $40 after that. And, you know, bought a couple beers and chilled after the fight.
I was gonna say you're basically just buying beer money with your fight.
Yeah. But you know what I was thinking is, I mean, I fought 11 fights for free. What the hell's another one? You know?
That's true. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So you went through 7 guys. Who was the hardest fight out of those 7?
Let me see. Maybe my... First guy, just smash. The second guy, smash. Third guy, you got smash. Fourth, fifth. Maybe the fourth guy...
Emilio Chavez?
No, not him. I slowly just demolished that kid too. I think it was probably Rodney Roden, that dude. That dude actually got some good shots on me more than anyone up until that point. Cause I think like in all my 7 fights, I've been hit maybe 10 times, you know?
Yeah.
Cause I don't know, I just come at him and I have a real good, I don't know what was good about them, but I had a tendency to not get hit and I just kept swinging at the dudes. But that dude Rodney Roden actually hit me a couple times, and he actually picked me up over my head, slammed me on my head, like Kevin Randleman style with Fedor. But I ended up pulling the Fedor move, ended up on top, and kind of pounded him out. But that dude, and then maybe when I fought Matt Bansha, he cut me, and I couldn't really see out of one of my eyes because the blood was going in my eye for the first round. Those 2 dudes got the bed.
You recovered nicely against Matt because you KO'd him 32 seconds into the second round.
Oh, yeah. I think he cut me in the first round, within 20, 30 seconds, and I couldn't even see it. I think it was, what eye was it? My left or my right eye? I think it was my right one. Right over my right eye, and I couldn't even see out of it. And, you know, I was still kind of fighting back, and I was doing better against him standing up. And at the end of the round, I got a good headlock throw and kind of knocked the wind out of him, and then we came into the round, he was just gassed, and I saw it, so I just went after him.
In all of your street fights and amateur fights, have you ever been knocked out?
No. The only time I've been knocked out is on my dirt bike, and that's the only time it's ever happened.
You said that in most of the pro fights, other than against this last guy, I think the guy you said cut you. You said that you've really only taken like 10 shots. Have you taken good, clean shots? Have you had your 10 chested?
Yeah, actually, not in any of those fights, but when I fought Kofor, I've been hit more in that fight with Kofor than I have my whole career, like amateur and pro, and he hit me some good times where I don't know if it was the first or second round, but he hit me really good, and my eyes kind of like crossed, but I was like, fuck, I can't really see this guy. There's like 3 of them, but I'm still swinging at him, you know. And I don't think he'd notice because I was still just swinging back hard, but he rocked me pretty good in that first round. Good. I think the last like 30 seconds I couldn't really like see exactly where he was or standing. It was just all a blur to me.
A couple more questions about your early career before we get into the tough stuff. In all of the fights that I could find, it seemed like you were fighting in a ring. Had you fought in an octagon before tough?
Yeah, I fought most of my fights were. I think that fight that I fought in the ring was against Matt Bancha, and I fought against David Gardner in a ring. The rest were in a cage.
And do you find it a lot different fighting in a cage versus a ring because of the clinch work and the fence and Greco and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, it's a big difference. I mean, each one has its own like advantage and disadvantage. In the cage, I like the cage because I'm good at defending off the cage. You know, I'm hard to get taken down against the cage. And in the boxing ring, it's a little harder to defend against getting taken down when you're up against the ropes. It's kind of like you're kind of like stuck there and waiting for the guy to do something before you can move because you're just kind of pinched. But I do have all my fight videos, but I just stash them off YouTube so these suckers can't scout me and find out what I'm really good at.
Oh, that's smart. It makes it hard for guys like me, but it's smart for you.
Yeah. So I got them. I got all the bloody massacres.
Yeah, you should shoot me some of them. I'd love to see some of these pretty stellar knockouts, like the Frankie Child ones you mentioned. Last question before we get into tough. You said your mom actually gave you your nickname. Is that right?
Yeah. She basically as a kid I was like I said it this way before. Like let's just say that you're lucky I wasn't your son. I was I was such a little like terrorist when I was a kid that in elementary school I had my own desk in the principal's office where like if I got in trouble I would just be in there coloring. She bought me a coloring book and shit, and like I was so bad at that point that every day I was good she would give me like she'd buy me like a Ninja Turtle or a G.I. Joe or like a deck of like baseball cards, or I'd get something. So I'd get some kind of prize for being good. That's what a messed up kid I was. But I mean, well, I didn't feel like I was messed up, but apparently I was.
Well, I mean, if you have to bribe a kid not to fight with Ninja Turtles, that's interesting.
I know, right? I still remember the principal, Miss Ephraim at Limerick Elementary. I wonder if she still goes there. I actually visited her about 10 years back, and she was still there, and it was kind of funny to talk to her and laugh about like so many stories she remembers about me that I don't remember because, you know, like a lot of stuff I've done so many crappy things and bad things I don't even remember half of them.
Yeah, I bet when she found out that you were a UFC fighter, she's like, you know, that makes total sense.
Oh, she doesn't even know because I haven't even like when I went back and kind of like went over there and talked to her, it was way before I even started fighting.
Oh, I'm sure she knows just because you're visible. I mean, you're on TV, you're on the show.
Yeah, maybe.
Speaking of the show, at some point you found out that there were tryouts for tough for lightweights. How did you get involved? How did you try out?
Well, honestly, like. Okay, before the tryouts, they were December 4th, I think, were the tryouts. And before I found out about the tryouts earlier that year, I was going to quit fighting because I was talking to Big John. I was trying to get myself some Bellator fights, some Strikeforce fight. I was trying to basically get me a top level fight, a good fight. Excuse me, and test myself because, you know, I was kind of running through these guys and I wanted to like. You know, it feels good and all beating up on these guys, but I wanted a real test. You know, I wanted to see like if I'm really that good of a fighter and if this is what I want to do for a living. You know, because at the smaller levels, I mean, you make a couple grand here and there, but you know, you end up basically paying out more than you get paid the smaller shows. So I was really debating on quitting fighting, and you know, friends, family, you know, my girlfriend, my brother, everyone's basically telling me like quit being a pussy and you know just stick it out. And I'm like, well, look, you know, like, shit sucks, man. I'm not making money. You know, I have no life. I work 12 hours a day. I'd go to the gym every night and work for another 3 hours at the gym. Go home. I'd get home at like 11 o'clock, go to sleep, wake up at 5 in the morning, do it all over again. You know, like, that was my life for the first, you know, 5 years. So I was kind of like at a standstill where it's like, okay, am I going to go somewhere? Am I going to stay here for the rest of my life? Like, I don't want to just sit here and be mediocre. You know, I want I want to go somewhere with it if I'm going to do it. You know, let's go big or go home. I'm not going to just be a wussy my whole life. So then, you know, I had a couple friends tell me, you know, this and that, you need to keep fighting. And then a really good friend of mine, Curtis Whitney, actually, he passed away last year, the day before my birthday. He was one of the big influences that basically made me promise to keep fighting and basically not to bitch out and stick with it for the rest of the year. And I did. And then, you know, I fought in August that year, and I was kind of like training once a week or twice a week after that fight in August. And then I heard there was fight team tryouts for All-Star Fighter, and I was like, hell yeah, here I go. This is my chance. So I tried out, and, you know, they took me. And the tryouts were crazy. Like, it was I think it was at the Palace Station, and, I got a hotel there. I stayed there the whole weekend. Me and my coach and another one of my teammates tried out. And, there were so many guys there. I mean, I think the doors opened at 7. I got there at like maybe 10 after 7, and the line was like all the way around this big ballroom and out the door. And there was like, I think total there was like 200 something guys that tried out just for lightweight. And then I think they had welterweight or middleweight trying out too that same day. But they ended up just cutting the heavier weight class, just keeping the lightweight. But I kind of had it in my head like, look at all these guys, you know, like there's so many guys here that probably have so much more experience and on paper and this and that, you know, and that kind of worried me because like on paper, I don't have shit, man. I got 7 knockouts. That's it. You know, I don't have this many years of this or this many years of that. I got 7 knockouts and 2 years of being pro, you know? So I was kind of like, I was a little discouraged at first, like thinking like, shit, I'm not going to make it. But then I was like, you know what? Screw it. What's the harm? I'm going to try. If I don't make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't, you know? So I tried out, and then I remember, just sitting there waiting for my number to be called. I was there 7 in the morning. I think they called me at like 6:30 at night to be called in with my group. They brought us into groups of like 41, and I think Craig Pelegian was there, Joe Silva was there, a couple other little like suits were back there like behind the table. And the first part of the tryout was grappling, so he basically rolled with someone for 90 seconds. The guy I rolled with, I don't even know who he was. I think he was like Hawaiian or something. But I got super pissed that guy, like, he caught me pretty quick, and like maybe the first like 30, 40 seconds caught me with the guillotine. And I got pissed, so I attacked him back, and I ended up like kind of wearing him out, got on top, and then I heel hooked him. But I didn't I just kind of held it, and we were both like, okay, I got you, you know, like, yeah, I got you, I'm gonna let go now. So we let go, whatever that goes, and then I go back, and my coach Brian was like, nice heel hook, dickhead. And I'm like, well, I got him, didn't I? He's like, guy pissed me off, I had to get him back. He's like, Joe Silva told you no heel hooks. I'm like, oh, did he? He's like, yeah. My bad, I wasn't listening to Joe Silva. I was just worried about tapping this dude. And then they made cuts after that. Then what did we do at? Oh, then we hit mitts for I don't even know, probably a minute or two until they were satisfied with watching us hit mitts. And then they made more cuts. And then I made both cuts. And then the last thing was, okay, it's time to get an interview. So I walked in to do the interview, and it was Craig and then a couple of the producers. I don't really remember who was in there. And Pelegian says to me, what did he say? He goes, oh, you're from Simi Valley, huh? I go, well, no, I was born in Lancaster, moved to Conoco Park, then now I'm in Simi Valley. And he goes, oh, one shithole to the next, huh? And I go, yeah, now I'm in this shithole. And then he goes, oh, that's pretty good. And then he goes, what nationality are you? And I'm like, Italian and Dutch. He's like, okay. And then he's like, where do you live now? And I was like, Sherman Oaks. He's like, oh, how's Sherman Oaks? So I'm like, it's pretty good. There's just a lot of Armenians there, you know. It's kind of weird. Like, I was like, Armenians are kind of weirdos to me, you know. Like, I try to be friendly with them, you know, but they're kind of like, oh, bro, no, don't talk to me, bro. You know, like, I don't know. They're just, some of them are just like, they're out their fucking rocker, man. I don't know what to say besides that. So then Craig Pelegian, I was like, there's something wrong with them, you know. Craig Pelegian goes, you know, I'm Armenian. I'm like, oh shit, are you? I'm like, my bad, sorry, bro. He's like, it's cool, no worries. He's like, I know how we are. And I'm like, well, there you go. I don't feel bad now. And then, what else? He asked me something else. And then, I'm Italian and Dutch, and a lot of people think I'm Mexican. So I guess his way of trying to get back at me was Craig goes, hey, everyone tell you look like like you're Latin, like a Mexican. And then I kind of look at him and smile. I'm like, is that all you got, bro? And then he's just like, get the fuck out of here. And I was like, see ya. And I walked out.
That's funny.
And then I think whenever they contacted us, let us know we took it. I was like, holy shit, the guy still picked me even after that crap. And even Gary Franco was the producer that called me, and he was laughing the whole time about it because I guess he was outside the door like listening. And he's like, I can't believe Craig picked you, man. He's like, He's like, no one's ever talked shit to Craig like that. You know, talk shit about Armenians and him still picking him. And I was like, well, I guess he likes me then.
Yeah, I guess so. When did you find out? When did you find out who the coaches were?
I think I found out before I went to the tryouts because I think it was on the actual application that I filled out.
Okay.
I think it was on the application, or if I didn't find out then, I found out shortly after because I think when they actually told us who they were picking and if we got selected or not, they flew us out to Vegas and we did all medicals and like photos and videos and stuff like that. And if we didn't find out before, then I'm pretty sure I found out then.
On the show, they sort of paint the fighters out, all of the contestants, to be a little bit starstruck by their coaches. But I imagine training in a gym, even part-time like you are, you see pro fighters all the time, don't you? Were you starstruck by Faber or Cruz?
Honestly, I was a little bit because, like, I've never, honestly, those two were the first fighters that I've seen in person besides, like, I've seen Tito Ortiz one time, but I didn't really like him. And I've seen, Mayhem Miller, I didn't like him either. But those are the two fighters I've seen besides, Dominic and Uriah when we went on the show. And it's actually kind of funny because before I went on the show, or before I actually went on, I was talking to Big John. Big John's like, yeah, if you get selected, I was already talking to Faber. Faber says he likes you, he'll pick you. I'm like, okay, cool. So I had it in my head that I was getting picked on Faber's team. And then also, too, like, I can say it's now because I'm friends with Dominic, but I didn't like Dominic Cruz at first. Like, because I didn't know him and he kind of came off as like a cocky little dude, you know, and I'm like, this guy's a fucking punk, you know? But, I didn't really like him at first. And then I was like, yeah, Faber's going to pick me anyway. Like, screw Dominic Cruz. I don't need him, you know? And then I get picked on Cruz and I'm like, oh shit, that puts a wrench, you know? That throws a wrench in it. But it's actually kind of funny because I told Dominic that, like, after the show, I actually became pretty good friends with Dominic and, you know, we hang out kind of a lot. And, you know, I drive down to San Diego and I'm there all week. And when I'm out there training, I stay at his house. So it's like I hang out with him a lot. And I was kind of laughing about the other day because I was like, hey, Dom. He's like, what's up, man? I was like, we're like friends now, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, I gotta tell you something. He's like, what? I was like, I hated your ass before I went on the show, bro. Like, you know, like, I don't hate you now. You're a cool dude, you know, but before I didn't like you. And he's like, why? I was like, yeah, you just came off as kind of a prick, you know, like.
He does come across a little bit as a know-it-all.
A little bit.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the way they edited the show or not, but he does look like Eddie Monster, so that was priceless.
I said the same thing to him. But,
did you make any other friendships on the show with any of the other contestants?
Oh yeah, I made friends with the guys I hung out with the most were like Miles Jury, Sam Cecilia, James Vick, Jeremy Lawrence, Tickle in small doses. I liked Mike Rio at first. Who else? I like Joe Proctor, Cristiano Marcelo. Ogle's a cool dude. I hated Khrushchev, man. I wanted to snuff that kid out in his sleep. He irritated the shit out of me so bad in the house. But now actually he's cool. I talked to him now. Like he's actually a pretty cool dude. But in the show,
I imagine being put into the house with no TV, no internet, no phone or anything. It's almost just like a pressure cooker, and people become completely different. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome, right?
Yeah, well, you could tell like everyone was cool, and we kind of like everyone put their pride aside. You know, we're like, whatever, we're here to do one thing, and this guy pisses me off, whatever. Eventually, I'll get to whoop his ass, you know. But you could tell like towards the end, it was like shit started boiling over, and people were starting to get pissed, and you know, like kind of like. Talk a stanza can't stanza more, you know. And then at the end, when Khrushchev did that combo on Tickle, I guess that was like the first explosion that we really had. But that was actually kind of funny. I was sleeping when that happened. I wish I could have seen it in real life, but I saw the video. It was good enough.
You got into the house with a rear naked choke in the sort of qualifying first episode. You fought in the quarterfinals. Coffer, am I saying his name right?
No, I fought Kofor in the prelims, and then I fought Saunders in the quarters, and then Al in the semis.
And when you fought in the quarters, you took quite a bit of leg kicks. So when you fought Al in the semis, you were injured, right?
Yeah, I wasn't like injured where like broken or sprained or anything like that. I was hurt, honestly. Like my leg was hurt so bad I was like limping up until the day of weigh-ins. And even after the weigh-ins I was limping a little bit, you know. So I went in that fight kinda weak on that leg, but my thought going in that fight with Al was, all right, Al doesn't throw leg kicks, so we're just gonna bomb on each other, so I'll be good. And what does he do? The fucker throws leg kicks.
Yeah, and that's what makes. I mean, you were actually supposed to fight James Vick in the tough final, but I saw some place where he was injured, and then I saw another place where you were injured, and you guys couldn't fight.
Yeah, well, because he was suspended. Like, I was medically cleared, but I'm kind of glad I didn't fight because I was, like I said, I was hurting bad. Like from the Saunders fight, I took a lot of damage. Like my nose hurt and my leg hurt, and then well, actually, I found out after the show that I broke my thumb fighting Cobra too. So, but that didn't really bother me. It was mainly just my nose. I couldn't breathe out of my nose, and my leg just hurt like a bitch. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't fight. And you know, if I would have had to fight a teammate, whatever, I got to fight him. I would have fought him. I would have whooped his ass. But I'm kind of glad I didn't. I'm glad I got this chance to basically heal and have my debut fight, you know, at 100% and ready for it and trained for it. You know.
I agree with you because it seems like the tolerance of fans for people to come in and lose is really short. So you definitely, people want to like get mad at fighters for not wanting to take fights on short notice, but this is every fight is so important. Yeah, and that's why, like, I mean, if they would have said you're fighting, I mean, all right, I'm fighting, you know, like the worst comes to worst, I'll fight. But I'm glad I didn't, and because that, you know, that fight to me was important. Like I didn't know for sure if I was getting a contract or what was going to happen, you know. So I was kind of like, shit, I want to fight because I want to get that contract, but then again, I don't want to fight because if let's say this guy exposes where I'm hurt already, and then, you know, I'm sure he knows from watching the show and he just targets it, like, I'm going to be screwed, you know? Yeah. Do you think that the format of the show is the best way to select the best fighter? Because, for instance, with you picked up, a sore leg, and against Ikinta, you weren't at 100%. And so injuries and fluke things like that can take out the best fighters before the final. Like, I don't know if anyone would have picked Chiesa to be the finalist. Yeah, no, but you know what? Honestly, like, it's just, the way I look at it is shit happens for a reason, man. Like, if you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna hurt. You don't really, like, you can't really think about it or say, oh, this guy would have won if he wouldn't have got injured, because you could play our season over and over again, and I bet you every time there'll be a different winner, you know? Yeah, exactly. It's just the luck of the draw, honestly. It's just the way it worked, and like I said, I'm pissed I didn't win. I really just wanted that Harley, honestly. But you know, it happened the way it happened, and like I said, anyone could have won, and you know, this time was Kiesa's, and honestly, Kiesa's deserving of it. I mean, he went through a lot of shit on that show. I mean, his dad dying, and then, I mean, that's super tough. I don't, you know, honestly, if like my mom would have died, I mean, I don't really know my dad, so if he died, like, I'm kind of like, oh, that sucks. But if my mom would have died, I would have been like, fuck, man, this is bullshit, you know, like, it would have devastated me, you know. And honestly, I don't know if I would have been as strong as Chiesa, man. I would have probably flipped out and kicked someone's ass in the house and got booted or something. One of the last questions I have about tough, and this is something that always just blows my mind, is what is it like cutting weight? Because you kind of have to fight so frequently that you have to stay at a low weight rather than peaking at like exactly at a weigh-in and then rehydrating. Yeah, honestly, the way that we did it, I think, was better for me personally, because the 6-week program, the guys are fighting every 2 days. So there's 2 to 3 fights a week. And I'm a big dude. Like, I don't walk around at 160 pounds, man. I'm like 180, 190 pounds at times. So if I had to cut weight every 2 days, I mean, I would just be drained, and that would have played a big factor too on my cardio and my fighting, you know, and just in general, especially if I had to fight a couple times in a row like I did on my season. But I think the week ahead was actually definitely good, because I could diet and keep myself between 75 and 80, and then, you know, when I knew it was my turn to fight, I had a week to cut that weight, or actually I had 3 or 4 days to cut that weight, which is plenty enough time, because, you know, if I would have had to cut it, they say, oh, okay, well, this fight, you're fighting and you got to weigh in tomorrow. Cut weight, sucker, you know, it's like, shit, I got 10 pounds to cut. There's no way I could have done that, you know, and I don't want to be the Gabe Rudiger, so I'm glad that it ended up the way it did. Do you think that that's one of the reasons why a lot of the tough seasons seem like the fighters have no cardio, because they're basically killing themselves every couple of weeks to lose that water weight? Honestly, I don't think it's just that, but I think it's a factor. I think it's a factor between adrenaline, you know, so much is riding on them for them, you know, they have so much going, and, you know, basically what they're fighting for is basically their lives in there, you know, and that's the way it was for me, is I'm in there fighting for my life, I'm fighting for my career. So, I mean, that definitely puts a lot of stress, you know, the adrenaline you get, and then on top of that, yeah, cutting weight, you know, having to diet, not being able to, you know, just stay at your normal weight and then cut weight once, where you're cutting weight over and over and over again, because, I mean, a lot of people just don't really know what it takes to be a fighter, and how tough it is on our bodies and what we go through, and that, honestly, for me, is the worst part, is the dieting.
Not that I don't feel healthy and I don't do it right. It's just that my body.
You have to be insane about it, right?
Yeah, you have to be so strict about it. And like, I'll cut weight and I'll fight, and after my fight, I'm wrecked, man. Like sometimes I'll go out and party and I'll hang out for like an hour or two, and then I'm like, I'm done, man. Like seriously, my body is just not wanting to do this right now. I'm going to bed, and it's still like 9 or 10 o'clock, and everyone's like, oh, quit being a pussy, and I'm like, yeah, well, let's party tomorrow, you know, like let me get some rest, and then I'll rage tomorrow.
I can't imagine another sport that is tougher on the body than mixed martial arts, because you look at other sports, soccer they play for 90 minutes, football they play for 3 hours. You guys train for 6 weeks to fight for 15 minutes, and afterwards you guys are literally can barely walk out of the ring.
Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of a satisfaction, especially if you win. If I win and I got my ass kicked and I still won, that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I accomplished something, you know. But I actually give it to football players, because football players, I mean, those guys take ass kickings, man. I mean, those guys get sidelined all the time. They get concussions like almost every time they play a game. So, you know, those dudes are pretty tough too, man. Like, people say I'm crazy for being a fighter. Well, I think football players or mountain climbers are crazy for doing what they do, you know. Like, it's just a special kind of breed of person that does what they do, you know.
Yeah, I guess it's all with what you're familiar with. You got to train with Dominic and all of his guys that he brought in. One of the things that I always wonder about is, do you actually get better when you're there? Because you've got a whole new group of people that are training you. They don't really know you. You're training with people that you're possibly going to fight, and you're just trying not to get injured. How much better can you get on the show?
Honestly, like, skill-wise, you gain a little bit, but I wouldn't say it's like, whoa, he's a different fighter, you know? I mean, some guys look like shit when they're on the show, then when they're off their show, then it's like, whoa, what happened to that guy? He totally did a 180 with his fighting style, you know? He looks so much different, so much better. But I would say that you do learn a little bit. Like, I learned a couple little things that helped me, a couple little tweaks, but I wouldn't say it totally changed my game or made me this much of a better fighter. It's just they added a couple things to us. They got us in, you know, we were in sick shape on that show. Like, Dominic really worked us, you know, and we were in sick shape, and that was basically the strong point of us was our cardio. I mean, everyone on our team was in good shape, and, you know, we did learn a little things here and there. Like, I learned a couple combos from Dominic. Ross Pearson showed me a couple combos. I learned some wrestling from Bill Davis and from Shannon Slack, and I learned a couple jits things from Lloyd Irvin. So I basically picked everyone's brain and learned one or two things from everyone, and then I kept it at that. I wasn't trying to learn too much because, you know, if you feed yourself 10 things, you'll only remember 2 anyway, so what's the point?
Let's talk about your next fight. It's against Rustam Khalidov. He's 14-1. He's an M1 Russian fighter. He's 26. You're 30. He's a Sambo world champion. This is his UFC debut. What do you see in him? I guess he's also an AKA and Greg Jackson fighter too. What are you going into this fight expecting?
I'm expecting him to basically come with bombs and try and take me down. Like I said, I don't watch too much video on him. I let my coaches do that, but they told me he's got pretty good ground and pound, and he's good at grabbing a clinch. So he looks like kind of like a Greco Sambo guy, you know, like more like that's his style, like that's his game that he's gonna try to impose on me. And, you know, my style is obviously keep him standing, knock him out, or, you know, if I get taken down, I'm no turtle on my back, you know, I'm pretty good at jiu-jitsu, so if I catch a sub, I'm catching a sub.
Out of 14 wins, the guy's got 7 decisions, so he definitely seems like a grinder.
Yeah. I mean, he is. He's Russian, man. He's a tough dude. I mean, those guys drink vodka in the snow just to keep themselves warm, so.
They're crazy over there. Have you been working on any submission defenses in particular, like against arm bars?
No, not really. I mean, I'm good at defending arm bars anyway. I rarely get caught now. Ever since that loss that I had, I've really worked on my arm bar defense. I'm mainly just kind of concentrating on just kind of stopping his ground and pound and not letting him take me down and leaving the fight where I want to, which is standing or even me taking him down. Because if I get on top of him, you know, I'm good on top where, you know, he probably won't get up and I'll just end up pounding him out or finishing him, subbing him from there. So I've been working on a lot is just, you know, if he takes me down, get back up. Takes me down, get back up. And, you know, I got Mike Chandler trying to hold me down. And I mean, if Mike Chandler's having a hard time holding me down or, you know, barely even holding me down, I mean, he keeps me down maybe 1 out of 10 times. I mean, I'm pretty sure this guy's not going to keep me down.
One of the things, you're a lightweight, and that has to be the deepest division in mixed martial arts, if not the UFC. I mean, it is absolutely stacked from top to bottom. So after this fight, assuming everything goes to plan, what do you want to do? What's the next opponent you're looking at? Where do you hope to climb to?
I want to go to the top, man. If Ben Henderson's the champ when I get there, I'm going to have to whoop his ass. But, you know, I don't care. Like, I'm going to climb the ladder and all my job really is, to me, in my eyes, is just to fight and win. The fighting and who I fight and when I get to where I get is honestly up to Joe Silva in my eyes, and he'll see fit when he wants me to go. And, if I get an opportunity like, oh, this guy got injured, he had to pull out a fight, and they come up with me, hell yeah, I'm going to take it, of course I'm going to take it. But, for now, I'm taking it one fight at a time, and right now my concentration's on Rustam.
If you could take an aspect from another fighter's game to complement your set, what would you take and from who?
Yeah, you mean in different skills or just in general?
Like, for instance, if I wanted to be good looking, I'd say I'll take Brad Pitt's good looks.
All right, let's see. In any weight class?
Yep, any weight class.
All right. I think for stand-up, I would like to take Kenny Florian's stand-up, Kenny Florian's Muay Thai skills. Wrestling, I would like to take, let's see. Well, let's go Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu, I'd like to be like a Cerrone or a Diaz, because those guys are sick off their back. Wrestling, let's see, probably GSP, but
I think everyone in the UFC would say that.
I like his wrestling style, but I don't really think his wrestling style fits me. Honestly, I suck at wrestling. I'm not a shooter, and I'll admit that. Like people know that I don't shoot on people for a reason. I'll either throw them, or if I get a hold of them, I'll lift them up and slam on their head. But I'm not really much of a shooter. But anyone that's decent at wrestling, I'd like to be like, honestly.
I got some questions from some of the users over at MMAshare.com. If you wouldn't mind me, I'll just read them off to you.
All right, go ahead.
From Homegrown123, who's your favorite fighter? These are I can't explain the usernames, so sorry.
Well, I think that one explains itself.
Yep.
Who's my favorite fighter?
Yep.
I go through stages, I guess you could say. Right now, I'm gonna go with Diaz. I'm gonna go with Nate Diaz.
Really? That's a guy that you could end up fighting. That's interesting.
I know, but I like him. He's a good fighter, and I just like him. Like any of these guys, like I don't hate them. It's not like, they're standing in my way of getting what I want, but I don't have any vendettas or hate against the guys.
Yeah. Nate Diaz is the nice Diaz. He's got the street cred, but he can smile a little bit. Nick, not so much.
Yeah, and that's what you want, right? That's what you want to have a guy. You want a guy that's cool you can talk to, but then the guy that when you guys got to take care of business, you can take care of business.
This one is from Nubs Knuckles. He wanted to know, Dana is trying to calm down fighters in their training camps to keep from injuries from derailing cards. How do you feel about that?
It's understandable, but I know that, Dana's a smart dude. He knows what we go through in our training camps, and he knows that we push it sometimes past the limit, and we do what we have to do to be in shape, because all of us fight for a reason. We don't want to lose, and we're super competitive, and the reason why people are getting hurt is just basically just from overtraining, Well, I can't say overtraining. I don't really believe in overtraining, but sometimes you just need to rest your body, and instead of training 7 days a week, 2 times a day, maybe you take a day off here and there, and your body needs it. But I understand that, because it sucks when people have to pull out of fights, and it definitely creates a problem. Like especially like recently the Dan Henderson thing, where that whole card got canceled because Jones wouldn't fight Sonnen, but here he is now. He's fighting Sonnen, like. Way to go dodging that bullet, but I understand that aspect of it, but I know that Dana knows that, we get hurt because we're training our asses off, we're trying, and it sucks that when people get hurt, no one wants to get hurt. It's honestly the worst thing for a fighter, that's the worst thing that's always in the back of our head is like, I don't want to get hurt. Like, that's one of my biggest fears is I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to need surgery or something like that, like shit, man, like I don't know what I'd do if I got surgery and I had to quit, like I was talking to Kenny Florian actually not that long ago, and I told him, I was super sad that he had to quit fighting, but I'm glad for him and his fights while he was fighting, but it's understandable that Dana wants us to take it easy a little bit, but at the same time, of course, we're gonna say, we're gonna be like little kids, like hell no, I'm training my ass off because I'm gonna whoop this dude's ass, so it's kind of like a double-edged sword where you can do something about it, but you most likely won't. You try to be a little careful. But honestly, when people get hurt, they're just freak accidents, man. They happen, and there's nothing you can really do about it.
What's Dana like as a boss?
I've only got to talk to him a couple of times, but seems like a cool, down to earth guy. He's a no bullshit kind of guy, which is what I like. Like he'll tell you like it is, and that's the way it is. And he doesn't sugarcoat shit. He'll tell you how it is, and if something pisses him off or he's cool about something, he'll let you know. He'll either, tell you what's up, that's fucking badass, or you're a fucking douchebag, like kick rocks, And that's what I love about him. He's just some no bullshit kind of guy, and I'm sure a lot of people think he's just some kind of asshole or whatnot, but he's really not. He is a pretty cool dude. I mean, when we were on the show and we were at the coaches challenge, we were bullshitting with him, and he had that sack of that cash, and he was throwing it around to us. We're all kind of like, oh, you got Jack, Dana, what are you gonna do? Like kind of fucking with him a little bit, but he's a cool dude. I like him. I think Dana's a cool ass dude.
Yeah, there's lots of stories about Dana really kind of bending over backwards for fighters and for fans that don't get as much publicity as him just going off and cursing for 10 minutes about somebody he doesn't like. It's a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, Dana's like, don't get mad at me, Dana, but Dana's kind of like the housewife of MMA, man, of the UFC especially. Like, he does so much, but never really gets a thank you, Like, people just don't understand what it is to be in the shoes of Dana White, And I mean, all I know is just stories of him flying here and flying there, and he's always working. People are like, oh, it must be nice to just fly here, have your own jet, and do this and do that, and go every UFC and go here and go there, and just be rich and make money and do this and that. But it's really not just that, Like that dude, I know that dude's stressed the hell out like all the time, Like he probably rarely has the time to blow off steam. When he does, he blows off steam,
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't have an aneurysm when 151 was canceled. I thought he was gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, honestly, I thought he was gonna rage and try to kick someone's ass. He was pissed.
What's your prediction for the fight?
For my fight?
Yeah.
Well, whoop this dude's ass, man. He ain't gonna make it to a judge's decision.
What do you think? Round one?
Maybe not round one unless I catch him slipping, which I doubt. I'm pretty sure he's gonna stay away from me in the first round. Maybe try to feel me out, unless he just goes after me, thinking he can wear me out. But I'm gonna say second, if not second, third. I'm gonna finish him.
Got plans for the holidays? Celebrate?
Yeah, didn't eat on Thanksgiving, didn't party on my birthday, and Christmas I'm gonna rage, and New Year's I'm gonna rage.
Sounds good. You want to give a shout out to the fans before we go?
Yeah, what's up to all my fans, everyone that supports me, everyone that comes up to me, says they love watching me fight, and they enjoy me. They enjoy watching me fight. That makes me feel good. I used to get arrested for it, now people love me for it, and I get paid for it, so that's awesome. Give a shout out to all my sponsors, Dethrone, RevGear, RBP, Lexani, all my coaches, Eric Del Fiero, all my training partners over at Alliance MMA, everyone at Big John McCarthy's, all my training partners, my coach Brian Peterson, Majid, Big John, of course, all the members there, and, friends and family. Without any of the support and all the support that I have, who knows where I'd be. I might not be so confident or so proud of where I am today, but it's because of people that enjoy watching me and what I do is it makes me feel good, it makes me keep going. You bloodthirsty bastards are the reason why I'm so violent when I fight.
Be sure to check out Vince on the Ultimate Fighter finale, Nelson versus Mitrione on December 15th in Vegas. I believe that's on FX, is that right?
Yeah, FX, December 15th.
Yep, FX December 15th. And the Aussie Tough Smashes is actually on December 14th, which is really the same day, or right around there. Anyway, yeah, Vince, you've been more than generous with your time. Best of luck with the fight, and nice talking to you.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Michelle, for having me on here, and I had a good time.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem. Have a good one.
Get 3つの